everybody, welcome to the second episode of Pop Jedi. I'm one of your hosts, Rob DeLaro, and with me as always is Diana Marie. Di, what's going on?
Hello, happy to be back.
And of course, Sith Jade. Sith, what's going on this week? How you doing?
Hi, so excited for episode 2.
Well, just want to give everybody a quick shout out here. Just want to thank you guys so much for all the love and support you've been giving us for the first episode. It's really wonderful. If you guys aren't actually, part of the group, you can actually join us on the Pop Jedi private group on Facebook. We have a Pop Jedi Instagram up, and I'm actually working on new social media for the brand right now. So that'll be up soon, and we'll let you know about that. Just want to let you know, too, when we get into the news portion of the show, there's quite a bit that happened this week. So if you miss anything, be sure to let us know in the comments, and we'll address it. We'll address it in the messages. So much to talk about this week. So let's just get into it. So the first thing was obviously the Snyder Cut of Justice League, which actually dropped on Sunday. Got a really great reaction. And honestly, as a DC fan, I was really just elated by the reception that it got. Because, as you guys probably know, Zack Snyder had to leave the project, and Joss Whedon took over, and he just kind of like threw the rule book away, and it's like, I'm going to just do my own thing. Everything about it was completely different. And the thing is, when the trailer came out for the Snyder Cut, it was just, not only unique in the idea of this guy's finally going to be able to show, his actual vision when it comes to the movie. It looks like a whole different film. Aside from a few beats here and there, I mean, it looks completely different. Just the look of, the main villain from the original cut, which is Steppenwolf. I mean, he looks more menacing and, like deadly. And
scarier.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff. The fact that we saw Darkseid, with, one of his right hands, Granny Goodness, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I freaked out.
If you guys aren't familiar, Granny Goodness is actually, she's an acolyte of Darkseid, and she's not a good little granny, as the name.
No milk and cookies coming from her, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. She's very sadistic and evil and just an absolute murderer. So it was cool to see her. Anything else stand out for you guys in the trailer aside from that?
Aside from the Joker looking all gorgeous in his new makeup, and oh my gosh, looks so good, so good.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, like I'm such a dyed-in-the-wool DC fan. Like I like these movies regardless, it's it's kind of easy for me to live because I don't get really angry about a lot of films, where people are just like, I'm never watching that crap, and I'm never, like, I don't get like that. So, I appreciate it for existing, and it may not be perfect, but maybe even with Batman, with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, maybe we'll see an actual true connection that works now with Snyder's vision. And maybe those three actual films will work as a trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it won't be a complete and utter mess. But you're right, though. There was an introduction of Jared Leto as the Joker, which was actually derived from Zack Snyder's idea of continuing on the nightmare portion of the Batman v Superman sequence, where Batman just looks awesome. He's just got, like a trench coat and, his goggles, like
out.
Yeah, like his desert duster and stuff. And I guess what's supposed to happen is this is actually after Darkseid, takes over Earth, and we see Joker in a more weathered situation where, like he's more beaten and, downtrodden, when it comes to, what he went through and whatnot. Kind of like, the inner voice, I guess, in Batman's head. He's kind of like, talking to himself. There's other people that theorize that they're actually going to have to band together to prevent this from happening. And then there's this whole thing, there's a whole paradox situation where Flash has to return to the present, to make sure that, the Justice League themselves, don't go to Apocalypse to fight Darkseid, and of course, maybe that cataclysmic event could, like not occur. It's the whole thing, and that's probably why the movie's 4 hours long.
I mean, that's exactly why. That's a lot to cram in there all at once.
So, I'm really excited about that. We're like a little more than a month away when that comes out. Do you guys have anything else to say about that before we move on here?
Well, just adding to what Sith said, I'm really excited to see how Jared Leto portrays the Joker in this movie, because in Suicide Squad he had a much different persona. He had the gangster look, slick back hair, tattoos, really cocky. In this one, it seems like he's staying more true to Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker. So
yeah, it's a little bit of a mix of seems like it's a little bit of Joaquin and it's a little bit of Heath. It was announced, they actually put an image out first this week. It was just one image of Boba Fett, which is like an off-color image, and people were like, I don't know what this is. And StarWars.com said, we're actually going to make the announcement tomorrow. And it turns out that with the Boba Fett story, they're doing a thing called War of the Bounty Hunter, which is, basically just this crossover event that's actually happening in Marvel Comics in the timeline of Boba Fett leaving Cloud City and trying to get Han in Carbonite to Jabba's palace. And in, some sort of, galactic hangover fashion, he loses the body and he has to contend with all
Boba Fett? How do you just lose one of the greatest bounty hunters? Oops, sorry.
Well, they never really get into the details, but to me, it sounds like a Star Wars hangover or something. Like, hey, boss, you got to help me find this guy. And there's a tauntaun in the bathroom. But that looks awesome. I'm really excited to see what happens with that, and I'm hoping that it's kind of like a precursor to, of course, the Book of Boba Fett this year, which we're really excited about, all of us, all three of us. I mean, the show is called Pop Jedi, so we are excited about that. Yeah. Let's see. There was actually a Mountain Dew commercial that came out, and Zach Galligan, the original actor for Gremlins, got to team up with his buddy Gizmo after 37 years. And unfortunately, if you've actually seen the commercial, he hasn't learned a thing in that time period when it comes to taking care of this little thing. And threw a little shade at Baby Yoda as well, saying that Gizmo was cuter than Grogu.
That's a tough call, man.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think they're pretty matched in the cuteness department.
Mm-hmm. And also in Gremlins news as well, there is a animated series called Secret of the Mogwai, which is actually renewed for a second season already. It's got a great cast attached to it, including B.D. Wong, of Jurassic Park fame, and he's done a bunch of franchise stuff. And Ming-Na Wen is actually now part of another franchise, and when it comes to the Gremlins world. So I mean, she's just having a year, isn't she?
Oh yeah, this is her year for sure.
Because she's also part of the Bad Batch, and she's also part of Book of Boba Fett, and probably the Mandalorian. I would think. She's just destroying it, absolutely destroying it. I know you're a huge fan of Gremlins. Do you have anything to say about the Secret of the Mogwai cartoon?
So this is going to be premiering. Well, we actually don't have a premiere date yet, but it's coming out on HBO Max. We know that it's going to have 8 episodes. It's going to take place about in the 1920s. So we're going to learn about how Sam Wing meets Gizmo and their storyline. So I'm excited, especially for the second season to come out.
Oh, also in animation news, there was an announcement that there's actually 2 new anime that are coming up on Netflix. One is based on King Kong, and then the other one is actually Tomb Raider. And it's got some really great people attached to it. I know that one of the writers of Underwater, which is one of my absolute favorite movies of last year, with Kristen Stewart. If you guys haven't seen it, it's good.
It's good. It's real good.
It's real good. It's good. It's pretty good. But yeah, do you have anything to say about those? Listen, I'm not like a massive anime fan, but I don't know. It sounds like 2 cool properties that could work, I think.
Have you guys played the original Tomb Raider games?
Oh yeah. I'm a Generation 1 Tomb Raider fan. Yeah, for sure. I do like the newer ones though. I think the design on them are pretty cool. but yeah, I'm always going to be, the old generation when it comes to Tomb Raider.
Yeah, the newer games are more immersive, but yeah, the older games are definitely where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Then there was news. There was actually some casting news, and there was some news when it comes to film. First one being, as we're waiting for Last Night in Soho, which is actually going to be Edgar Wright's next film. He is now slated to write and direct an offshoot of The Running Man, which of course was a cult classic, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Awesome movie. But his is actually going to be more in tune with the short story from 1982 that Stephen King wrote under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. So that's really exciting because I'm all for Edgar Wright doing anything, honestly. So Tim Burton is actually he's on board with Netflix to direct. The whole thing is, it felt like when I was reading the synopsis for it, it felt like it was just the chilling adventures of Sabrina. But it's actually a Wednesday Addams show, which is kind of more of a coming of age story. Her having to deal with, supernatural events that had to do with her family in the past, and, dealing with, like her normal relationships in life and all that stuff. So it did kind of have a Sabrina feel when I heard about it. But you know what? People are really excited for it. I just hope they cast it really well. You know what I mean? That's my only hope for the show, is that we get a good, Wednesday Addams. It would make sense to do a Wednesday Addams show with Christina Ricci, but Christina is, she's a full-fledged adult now, like all of us, and I don't think it would actually work in the dynamic that Tim Burton's trying to bring across.
Yeah, I think he's wanting more like a young adult feel, and she's, she still looks just as gorgeous and just as young as ever. But I think we'll need to have like a younger actor to come in and kind of portray those, like maybe like early 20s tweens kind of thing going on.
But how about this? What if she actually, was obviously still connected with her family, and she was like visiting her family throughout the show, and Christina Ricci ended up playing like Morticia?
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be a dream come true.
Mm-hmm. DC Comics just announced that they're doing doing two special event series. One is actually for Superman 78. So if anybody's a fan of Christopher Reeve's Superman, guy was an absolute god. His story is actually going to continue within comics. I think it's actually going to be a 7 or 8 issue run, which will eventually go to hardcover. I think they're going to come out digitally first. But exciting for me because I was, like raised in this. First of all, I'm a huge Batman fan, but I also remember the summer of Batman '89. I'll never forget that ever in my life. It was a huge, huge thing. If you guys didn't live for that. And Michael Keaton, honestly, as Batman, Bruce Wayne, you could really do no wrong with him. And they're going to continue his story in a line called Batman '89. So it's actually going to be a continuation of Batman and Batman Returns, if I'm not mistaken, and it's just kind of going to play in the '89 world that he's in. And so you'll actually see these two within the comic pages, that one obviously looks like Christopher Reeves and one looks like Michael Keaton, who of course is rumored to be part of the Flash Flashpoint movie that's coming out. I think it was him and Ben Affleck that were casted last year, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems like we're going to get some more Keaton Batman in our lives again at some point.
Yeah, he was definitely a favorite of mine up there on all the people that have portrayed Batman over the years. He does a stellar performance in every role that he's in. Oh
yeah, for sure. So when it comes to trailers, actually Mortal Kombat came out, and what are your thoughts on this? Listen, I know it's a no-brainer film and it's supposed to be really fun, as the 95 one is, but I'm so in tune with the 95 version, as cheeseball and corny as it was. I just thought it was really well made. And honestly, for a movie where people are in a tournament, fighting to the death, that movie had some sort of heart attached to it. You were really concerned about the characters and their, individual journeys and whatnot. That soundtrack was just thumping, man. I don't think you could do any better than that. And, for something that was PG-13, it was just really effective, but I'm 41 years old. What do I know? You know what I mean? Like I just didn't get the same jolt that everybody else got, you know, from that trailer. And I kind of feel like, you know, like I'm betraying myself somehow because I didn't like it as much as everybody else. But what were your feelings on it? I mean, it's cool. It looks great. It's, you know, like really well done. The costume design is fantastic. Some of the casting is amazing. You know, of course, you know, you've got your, you know, your fatalities and stuff. It just, I don't know. It just didn't hit me like everybody else.
I feel like what you were saying, Mortal Kombat is such an iconic 90s movie. Like anybody that watched action, kung fu movies and grew up in the 90s, you're always going to think about Mortal Kombat. So it's kind of hard to get used to a new version of that. But they're sticking with the original games. They're bringing back Sub-Zero. There's violence. There's decapitation. And, you know, like, it looks like it's going to be a fun movie. I think that we should give it a chance. Although,
absolutely. No, I'm gonna sit there and watch it. But, you know, I'm just wondering why me personally, I'm not, you know, being physically affected by it as many people have, you know, where people are just like, this is the dopest thing I've ever seen, you know, and I'm just kind of, you know, like, I'm warm to it, and I'm glad it is, you know, it exists, but I'm not like over the moon.
We're stuck in our 90s ways. I think that's what it is.
Probably.
Yeah, that nostalgia. I think it was more that this one, it was more of like a shock value initially, and that's why everybody was so excited about it, because we weren't expecting to get a full R-rated, you know, there's things being ripped off and things exploding, you know, like it was a lot, and it was all in that short trailer, you know, so there's going to be a whole full-length movie of this. So I think people are just happy to finally see the actual the actual grit of it.
We actually did want to focus on a couple things that happened this week. Mainly the one thing that we wanted to talk about first is the intellectual properties of Aliens and Predator entering into the Marvel Universe for the first time, you know, because Disney actually bought the intellectual properties from 20th Century Fox, and they actually are introducing Predator into some variant covers that Diana will actually talk about here. I think it's including like Miles Morales, and go ahead. You have the list for that, right?
So Disney just introduced Predator into the Marvel universe. So we got some covers featuring Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Woman, Valkyries, with them combating with Predator. So I'm really interested to see Disney's take on Predator, because it's such a violent story. Because if you've seen the original Predators, they skin and decapitate their victims as trophies. So, you know, Disney's probably going to have to tone it way down.
I mean, just off of the covers that I've seen so far, the main one that I saw was the Spider-Man, right? He's underneath the bridge and he's got his spidey sense going on, and Predator's right there above him. And like, I'm so excited to see if I would hope that they would maybe do a kind of, you know, mashup thing in the future, but even just the covers right off the bat just looks so good.
Yeah, most definitely. Then we wanted to actually get into some other trailer news, because I got some words to say about it when it comes to, you know, people's reactions and whatnot. But the first trailer for Cruella was released this week. Emma Stone is just a phenomenal performer, first of all. And usually when an American tries out a British accent, it's usually pretty grating. It's pretty spot on. And you know, she's you know, done some period movies in the past and whatnot. But you know, to me, I think she's got Cruella locked down perfectly. From the way she was driving, you know, with her, you know, arms up on the steering wheel and stuff, just like in the cartoon.
Like movies, just
yeah. But you know, the interesting thing about it is, you know, a lot of people are actually saying when they see that trailer, you know, it kind of feels like Disney, you know, took something that actually worked, which I don't know, kind of didn't, because, you know, although I personally, you know, I'm a huge Harley fan, obviously, as you can see in the back here, I adore Birds of Prey, but it didn't do very well. As a matter of fact, you know, it kind of got beaten out by movies that are, it got beat up by Doolittle. Okay. So if that tells you anything, it didn't do very well. It didn't do as expected. So it's not exactly a winner, but, you know, like from the Harley Quinn standpoint, I could see how Disney could see that character and be like, okay, well, you know, that works, you know, for Warner Brothers and DC. And they also looked at from perspective of a lot of people to see that trailer, is Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, which of course is like a smaller independent movie. It has to do with psychology and all that, and it, earned like over $1 billion. So they're going to stick with what works. That trailer did look very reminiscent of Harley Quinn and Joker to me, for sure. I don't know if that was like a intentional thing, but I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Because when I heard they were actually doing like a punk rock era Cruella, I think it was one of their investor I think it was like like one of their D3 meetings or something like that. They had actually announced that they were doing one of film of that ilk. And Cruella is really not even my favorite villain. One of my my absolute favorite villain in Disney is Maleficent, personally. But I love what they're doing with the character. Giving her the origin story. It's kind of like it feels like a dark Devil Wears Prada, honestly.
Yeah,
that's exactly. Yep.
Do you guys have anything to say about the trailer? I mean, did you guys like it, or?
I loved it. When I first saw it and I heard her voice before she even came onto the screen, like you said, her accent was perfect. Watch a lot of BBC, okay? Like I know what an English accent sounds like, and she just hit it out of the park with that. And all the costumes and everything. I'm just curious to see, like, she's in the world of fashion. Obviously, that was a big thing. Her collecting like the coats and the items in the original movie. So I'm curious to see how she actually got into that world.
Yeah.
And how she became obsessed with it.
Yeah, but that that one line, and I've it's been a long time since I've seen 101 Dalmatians, but where she goes, I was born brilliant and born bad and a little bit mad. It's just like, oh, it's so good, man. That hit me more than anything else was that line. It's just a perfect line. So the last story, obviously, we'd actually focused on in the first episode. We're all very, well, probably me, maybe more than anybody else, but we're very fanatical here about WandaVision. And man, that last episode 7, that just dropped, really, gave us a good idea of what's going on in the world of Westview. What did you guys think of what came about with everything with Monica Rambeau? And of course, it was Agatha all along, which
was it Mephisto?
Honestly, all I have to say about it is, I mean, these are two things that, if you're a comic fan, you were obviously expecting these two things to happen. Agnes, not being a witch, it's like, okay, well, water's not wet and the grass isn't green. It was obvious from the start, but her introduction as Agatha Harkness was beautifully done. And absolutely one of the best themes of the show, for sure, because I'm a massive Monsters fan. And it was just perfect. It was just absolutely perfect. And then of course, Monica Rambeau and her becoming, Photon or Spectrum or Captain Marvel 2 or whatever facsimile of, these characters are going to, use, in terms of her. That was really great how that was done too. From what I remember is that, she was, breaking through energy initially in the comics, and that's, kind of how her origin came about. So it was pretty spot on. It was really cool how when she actually got into the Hex, like, she was like the one. She was like Neo from the Matrix. She could actually see all the energy like flowing through, and
I love that.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic show. Now that you guys have this huge puzzle piece that's been placed, what do you think is going on? Because of course, Agatha Harkness, she's a very classic character. Number one, she kind of went through the comics through the years and whatnot. But now that we actually have witches in the MCU, like of course we had like Sorcerer Supremes and that kind of wizards, if you want to call it that, with Doctor Strange, and now we've got witches. It's pretty spectacular. But do you think she's actually working with a Mephisto? What are your thoughts? There has to be to me, some sort of cosmic or, like maybe otherworldly alliance that we're not seeing yet. And honestly, to me, that Mephisto theory is becoming a lot more like, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like it would make total sense if that happened now after this episode. But what are your thoughts on everything?
There's been so many Easter eggs that have been dropped in this episode, and the creators of the show are purposely messing with us. So it's kind of hard to think. Like when Wanda's in her room, and then when we're in Agatha's house, you see little hexagons kind of scattered about every single scene. So, they're hinting at us that she has been one of the ones in control the whole time. I'm thinking that we haven't seen Agatha's husband yet. So I'm thinking that maybe Ralph, yes. Yeah. So I'm thinking that he might play a bigger role in the show than what we think so far. There's just so many questions. I don't know. Just so many theories. And then I feel like Disney's just going to turn it on our head. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but when she was actually holding Senor Scratchy, her rabbit, the damn thing was purring. So I'm not for sure if that's actually supposed to be her cat in the Marvel comics. Actually can, it's kind of like a battle cat situation in He-Man. Like it actually like grows in size and becomes like this, like violent like panther that just basically attacks at her will. I'm not sure if that's it. But I heard that rabbit purring. I totally did.
You have to watch that.
Yeah, go back. It's really cool. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
So I loved it. I was expecting it to be like a kind of like a little like, oh, it's not Wanda in control. And then the way that she did it when she, put her hands up and Wanda's eyes turned purple and you saw her magic wash over her, it was parallel to what Vision did. It was parallel to what Wanda did. And obviously she, if you read the comics and you follow along with that, she taught Wanda, so it would make a lot of sense that she was, in the driver's seat the whole time without us even knowing.
It was obvious that she was Agatha Harkness. I don't think it was a surprise to anybody, but just a fantastic introduction. And just a quick shout out to everybody, especially Paul Bettany, who and Elizabeth Olsen. Like the fact that they're able to take all these different sitcom aspects and just like expertly know that style of comedy for that particular time period and stuff. They're just killing it right now, and it makes me so happy that like Catherine Hahn is getting this opportunity to really show people like she's unbelievable. She's like she does drama and she does like even like the most gross out comedy and stuff that you could possibly think of, but she does like straightforward comedy. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. And I just hope that Marvel wave keeps going for her for a long time. I'm hoping Agatha just doesn't show up in WandaVision and then we never see her again. I'm really, really hoping that. And how cool would it be if she was actually part of the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness? It'd be fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of, that was one bit of news that we actually didn't catch on, but Danny Elfman, who, of course, worked with Sam Raimi and, Tim Burton in the past, but, he worked with Sam on Army of Darkness. And I think the Spider-Man films, he's actually going to be doing the score for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So that's really cool that they're actually the fact that we live in a world that Sam Raimi is actually directing a Doctor Strange movie that's like more horror based in the Marvel realm. Oh, my God. We live in good times, So that's episode 2, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Like we said before, leave all your theories and everything that want to leave in the comments, and we'll definitely check those out. We didn't actually get to all the news that we wanted to get to, but like I said, we'll travel that into the next week because it was quite a bit, and this is a half-hour show. So thank you guys so much again for your support. If you are a fan of the show. We've received so much love from you guys, when it comes to inboxes and stuff. I'm glad that people love what we're doing. Please like and subscribe on the Horror Web YouTube channel. Click that like button. It definitely helps us out. And, we're so excited still to, continue on this journey. thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week for episode 3. And we'll see you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.